Good afternoon. Well, our guest just made my day. Uh, you know, I heard somebody say just showing up is like 90% of it. I don't know who said it, but showing up means a lot. And Todd's been on before, and Jonathan's out of town. And so I had Rolando send an email to Todd. And I come back from going to the bathroom downstairs, and Todd's here. I'm going like, dang, this is good. So, okay, let me calm down for just a second. Todd, tell our viewers, we're going to pretend we're on the Fractional CFO podcast or Fractional Executive podcast. For some reason, we deleted it out. So we're on the 80/20, but we want our audience to think Fractional Executive. So tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Yeah, absolutely. So Todd Lessum. I actually have two different businesses. I have Diakonos Management Solutions and also the Data Miners. But what we're going to talk about today is what I do as a fractional leader and specifically as a revenue officer. So I come into businesses and I am a concierge service. I come in and help them identify the best way to grow. And why do I call myself a revenue officer? What I've learned is there's three key ways you can grow. You can grow through marketing, you can grow through sales and sales efficiency, or you can grow via operational excellence via reduction in expenses. Three different ways to grow, and each business is unique. So I come in, I analyze the business using a data-driven approach. And from there, I provide the owner or the CEO the best way forward on how they can grow not only top line revenue, but bottom line cash, because it's all about the cash flow. It's all about what money you physically put into your pocket. And I then help and support with, bringing in a team to do marketing excellence, to do sales excellence, or to do operational excellence. So I really serve, diakonos stands for servant leader. It's a Greek word from the New Testament. So Diakonos Management Solutions, I'm a fractional revenue officer, serving small business owners that are, one, looking to grow, or two, are rapidly growing and trying to figure out, okay, now what? How do I make this really efficient? That's who I serve.
I love that because you broke it down into three things. And my partner and I always would say, Pete, stick with three. The brain is simple. And if you keep simple concepts to people, and three seems to be the magic number. So what do you see? Like, I love when you just described our small business owners don't have access to people like yourself because the revenue model may not support it, but you love small businesses because everybody starts as a small business owner. You don't birth a Facebook, you don't birth a Google, you don't birth the big companies. You grow by implementing strategy. When you work with small business owners, tell our viewers, like, it makes sense to me because I've heard this over and over again from my partner. But what do you hear them say? Like, what's their objection when you're working with a small business owner you see has that potential to really start growing by implementing you into the picture? What are they saying? What's their objection?
Yeah, well, I'm a small business owner too, so I can empathize where they're at. And for me, what I see is, as a small business owner, you typically start as a one-person show, and then you add 2, 4, 6, maybe you're up to 50, whatever the number is. But it's your baby, it's yours. And when someone makes the choice to bring me in, they have to start letting go. Why? Because they have different problems they need to solve. They need to solve people. They need to be able to keep people motivated. They need to manage the checkbook. There's lots of different challenges that they need to oversee. What I try to do, and why I kind of call myself as a concierge service, I try to alleviate that pain from them. I come in and say, hey, you've scaled up to this point and you can't be everything to everyone. Allow me to help you identify if you want to grow and continue to grow. Let me identify the smartest way to do it using data, using my years of corporate experience, and providing them options, strategic options. It's not just Todd coming in saying, this is what you do, pay me. No, I come in and provide them strategic options. Why? They know their business better than anyone else. Who am I? I'm just a concierge service. I'm a servant coming in to help identify best ways to grow. And some of the objections I face is, well, we tried that before and it didn't work. I've heard that so many times in my career.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we could dive in and analyze the why and the what, not the how and all that stuff. So, okay, great. That's an objection. Let's look someplace else. That's why there's options to grow. And I think one of the things I try to do differently is I provide, okay, when you think about marketing, typically marketing means spend money to drive activity. That's the premise of marketing. Lots of ways to spend money. It drives activity. So if someone's willing to invest, there's a marketing option out there. May not be the best option. The sales angle, you can always get better at sales. You get, there's just ways, and that's a lot of relationship building. It's grit. There's many different sales processes out there, but sales, you can always improve your sales performance, whether it's an online performance or it's a people-to-people performance. That's another avenue to explore. Or the third one is the operations. So when you look at operations, as you're growing, as you're scaling, and I know this, you're plugging holes as a small business owner.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking about efficiencies. We were chatting before this. You were talking about tools and becoming more efficient. Sometimes you make strategic investments in tools that gains back people hours, and you can reallocate those resources. Or there's just, you identify, wow, it's taking a really long time to do this task. How can we do it faster? How can we do it smarter? And that's some of the hidden growth opportunities that exist. And what I've seen from small business owners, there's opportunity everywhere. But I try to allow the business owner to choose, where do you want to go? Because there's 3 different avenues to grow. What makes the most sense for you, for your business? And more importantly, what do you feel comfortable doing? So I try to equip leaders. I try to equip business owners, CEOs with choices. And I'm not a one-trick pony, and I don't want to be, because I've learned in my career there's different ways to grow.
I love that, and I wanted you to just comment on. There's a couple of high-profile CFOs or CEOs that have come through the town, and I'm thinking back when Home Depot hired Nardelli to come in, and he was a cut kind of person. He cut personnel, he cut, bottom line improved, but all of a sudden they were in trouble because they cut too much.
Yep.
And Frank Blank, I think is his name, he came in, and see, you hear stories, and so, or either you're reading about him. He came in as a top line guy that brought back the service, wrote personal notes to people. I mean, his stamp was completely different than his predecessor, who cut. What would you say, like, if you say sales, you say marketing, and you say operations? Are you like, is that your priority? Of if somebody says, I got to work on one, Todd, what would you kind of lay out for them might be a best strategy based on just one of those 3 strategies?
Yeah. So, and to get into my process a little bit, I come in and do a rapid assessment, or in the consulting world, discovery work. Why? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Who am I to come in? Let's think about Podcast Pete Inc. Who am I to come in and say, Pete, you need to do this? Am I serving you? No. I need to come in and, with a third-party objective opinion, assess the situation. Where are you at in your growth cycle? How long have you been in business? I do some qualitative interviews with people like your people just to kind of check in and see where's their head at.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the impact of a poor morale is significant. I've learned that through my corporate career. And that's why you hear words like NPS, Net Promoter Score. You get all these surveys after you purchase something. Why? Because there's truth in that data. So it's hard for me to say you can only select one, but what I can come in and assess and say, here's the pros and cons if you want to do a marketing approach. Here's the pros and cons to a sales approach. Here's the pros and cons to an operational approach. When you're growing, there's too many problems to fix. And it's funny, I was talking with a client yesterday. He mentioned, he just hired someone brand new, and he's like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? He's like, it's fun because how his business is growing. He mentioned, we've thought about it, but it now comes down to prioritization. Mm-hmm. The fun stuff. What is the most critical thing we need to do for the next, 30 to 90 days that's going to move us forward? Mm-hmm. Is this plugging a hole, or is it setting yourself up for the future? And honestly, for my career, sometimes the next best step is plug a hole. Sometimes it requires, let's maybe slow down, become more strategic to go faster long-term. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes get into the cut and slash. Maybe you have, a team member or two that needs to exit the company. And by that exit, you're going to exponentially boost morale and boost production.
Yeah.
It's growth via attrition. So it's hard to say just one solid thing. Yeah. But that's where I try to come in and do a holistic, rapid assessment, discovery, and analyze your business, and then come back to the business leader and say, this is what I'm seeing. And I think what's interesting is the more business owners I serve, they know the answers. They just don't know how to take the next steps. Mm-hmm. Or they need, and I know this myself, or they need that reassurance that it's, I do need to do that. And they almost need a little bit of confidence boosting of sorts, where it's like, I'm seeing it and the data suggests it. Now it's up to you. Are you going to make the call? And if you make the call, I can help you push that along.
Dang, that is so good. When I hear a quality answer like that, I think I just wanted to emphasize to our viewers is what I'm hearing from Todd is every situation requires an assessment, and every business is at different levels of growth. And unless you can assess where that best, because we only have 24 hours, and we plan to show you something at the end for our people that I hear it, and probably Todd hears it. Oh, I'm busy. I'll ask people, how you doing? Oh, I'm busy. I'm covered up. I'm busy. You ask Elon Musk, how are you doing? He doesn't say, I'm busy, I'm covered up. He doesn't. That's not his answer, because he has a way of managing those 24 hours that's different than you and I. And I think we all get 24 hours. Nobody says Todd gets 25, I get 23. Doesn't work that way. We both get 24. How Todd uses his 24 may be different than how I use my 24. And I think as business owners, we get lulled into the busy mindset. Like you're trying to take 20 tasks. And I was listening to the audio this morning. I want you to kind of just comment on this. The guy, actually it was Stephen Covey, brought a person up on the stage and gave just a visual example. Threw a bunch of pebbles in a glass. And we've heard this before, but I think it's worth sharing. Mm-hmm. The pebbles filled the glass up. Then took another glass, threw the big rocks in, threw the same amount of pebbles, it filled it up. So they both were full. One had big rocks in it, which are your priorities. The other had small rocks, which are tasks that don't have a priority. And so if you as a business owner are thinking like, do I hire a gentleman like Todd to come in and help me prioritize my business better, because what we don't know, we don't know. That might be a good strategy. So, Todd, share with our viewers. I know you've heard that analogy, the big rocks and the small rocks.
Yeah.
Kind of relate it to how you're working with small business owners, and what you're seeing, and what could you share with our viewers on that?
Yeah, I was exposed to the big rocks conversation, and I got some very pointed coaching during my corporate career at one point, which to illustrate that fact, he's like, Todd, make sure that you don't make sure you don't confuse being busy with being impactful.
Hmm.
And it's a different way to skin that big rocks conversation. And to the point where you mentioned 24 hours, I manage my hours that I'm working to a T. Like, I live and die by my calendar. I micromanage my minutes and my impact on a daily basis. Why? Because I'm a family man too. I got a young family. I'm involved with them. I'm a husband. I need to be involved. And I need to make sure that I do not allow my businesses to control my life.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I try to do to focus in on, the small business owners? I know my fractional revenue officer is up there, but everyone says, so what do you do? I said, I'm in the relationship business. And that's really what I do. I come in and I try to understand what does success even look like for your business? And this is part of the discovery. This is part of the rapid assessment. Like, what are your goals? A lot of times they don't have goals. They're on the hamster wheel. So we start talking about, what's that 3-year goal look like? What does success look like? And broaden it a little bit more to look more holistically. What does life look like? Do you want to be burning 70 hours a week? Okay, we can build a scenario where it's 70 hours a week for you in the office. Most people aren't there. They want to try to find that balance. But it also gets to the heart of the issue, and especially with small business owners. They typically start, and I said that before, as a one-person show or a very small team. This is a key component of their life. They don't really turn it off, ever. So I need to understand the bigger picture and connect with them relationally to understand, what does the success of the business look like for you personally and professionally. And then from there, you can start to understand, so what does success in your business start to look like? And we have to start to then have some honest conversations. A lot of times, there's some passion projects or passion areas that business owners keep in the mix that might be the least profitable and the biggest time suck of their people and their bottom line cash flow. And I kind of say so, and I talk about, I don't necessarily, I speak in truth and love. I don't tell business owners what they want to hear. I tell them what they need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't do that if I don't build a relationship. Otherwise, I'm a jerk, and they're just spending money on me, and they're getting rid of me after 3 months, or worse, I'm getting rid of them. And yes, I do fire clients. That happens.
Hey, look, I think I fire more than most, and I've fired a lot of people. My physical therapist, I'm on 6, so maybe there's a problem there. I'm looking at the problem, but still, when you have a high level of performance, or what you have will work, if there's not a good fit, you're only delaying the inevitable. Yeah. And I think you've got to be hire slow and fire fast, because, if they're not going to fit, 99.9% don't change. No. So you're waiting around for Susie to change. I tell you what, you're going to be disappointed. What would you say? You mentioned at the beginning of that conversation, the holistic approach to your business. I heard it stated like lifestyle. So you're building your business around a lifestyle, because I know when you left corporate life, you kind of did some things differently. Share with our viewers what that means in this, it's the same thing you were talking about, but what does lifestyle mean to you in how you run your business?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess, look, I left a very comfortable corporate job. I did. And I could have stayed there very easily and collected a very healthy paycheck and get my annual bonus and, sit back. And we've talked about this. For some reason, I walked away. I didn't take a package. And I started a business, and it manifested into two different businesses for very intentional reasons. But for me, a lifestyle it's intertwined. I look at my life in quadrants, and this is going a little bit more personal, and we'll get to the lifestyle. But there's the work aspect, there's the family aspect, there's the ministry aspect. I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And there's a me aspect. That's kind of what my life is. It's four pieces of the puzzle. And when I think about that for me personally, I need to make sure I'm making an impact in all these different areas. I'm not busy. I'm not focused on the small rocks. I'm trying to make an impact in each of these areas. And, sometimes I flex heavier into business because it calls it, but then other times I flex more into my family. And in a couple weeks, I have an opportunity to flex more into ministry. I mentioned we're doing a kids camp in a couple weeks. And hey, guess what? I'm going to take 3 days and volunteer like 5 to 6 hours. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I can, because I'm choosing to prioritize that.
Yep.
And then there's the me part. If I'm not taking care of me, no one else is. So I need to make sure I'm eating right. I'm doing what exercises I can. I try to get outdoors and not just inside my gym and what have you. But when I think about that from a lifestyle perspective, I think, translating that to a business owner, hey, these are people too. They're not just the business. Many of them have families. Many of them have children. Some of them are involved in some sort of church environment or nonprofit, something, but that's important to them, and they feel they want to give back. And what's interesting is most of them don't focus on the me part. That's the one missing piece. They're willing to do the other three, but they miss out on me.
Yep.
So I try to, at least in my conversations, I learned this in my corporate career, just doing check in. How are you doing? How's family?
Yep.
And like, how are you doing health-wise? And especially with the small business owner, because they are so heavily invested in every aspect of the business, especially in the early years, unfortunately, they allow their health to slip. Well, if your health slips, that's going to impact your business. It's all interconnected, Yep. So I just try to, just from I've been blessed to get some amazing executive leadership training. I've been blessed to have some holistic thought leaders come in and intertwine the connection between business and health. So I just kind of look at, coming back to, I'm in the relationship business. I come in to serve the leader, and my engagements sometimes are more checking in and making sure their mind is set in the right area for the first 20 to 30 minutes. And then we get to business for 15, and it's a punch list. But if you're not connecting on that human level, we are relational creatures through and through.
Yep.
And, I'm kind of diverting off of the corporate speak, but that's just kind of the reality. And that's how I build my business. It's relationship focused.
I love that answer. And I wanted just to share with our viewers, just to add on to that, because I'm older than Todd. I live in a senior facility. The average age is 80. So I see a perspective that's a little different than most. Now, with average age 80, and I have 92, 94, so I see the end of life reflection. And here's what I heard the other day. When we're young, we have thousands of dreams and goals. But when you get to the end of your life, there's only one goal. And if your health is taken away from you, in such a way you can't enjoy your family, enjoy your friends, that's your only thing you're focused on. And the guy that was sharing that with me says he has multimillionaires and all they care about is their health once they lose it. So you can throw everything else out. We only get one body.
Yep.
That's it. If you don't take care of it, hey, look, there's no magic pill. It takes a commitment of yourself to say, you know what? I want to perform at a level, but I see it over here that we've neglected, and now we're playing catch up, and there's no catch up. If you neglect your health, it's going to eventually tell you the end result. I mean, not the end result, but the results of that. And it's so important to have that, what you described as those 4 quadrants. And you're right about the me. I say it, and just you comment maybe on this. I call it the oxygen mask syndrome. The person that's serving puts the oxygen mask on the passenger. And if you do that, what happens to you? You suffocate. You're done. But we do it. We say, oh, I'm going to serve. I'm going to serve. And you serve in everybody but you.
Yeah.
If you're healthy, then you can help them. So you can't neglect it, because if you do and you say, oh, man, Todd's a great servant, and all of a sudden Todd's in the hospital with stress because he's not managing himself properly.
Yeah.
And he can't serve his family because he's not there to serve them because he's in the hospital. He overdid so many things. What do you see? Because you talked about being a servant.
Yeah.
Do you see something similar in your world that you live, that we neglect ourselves?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's when I cross through life, I have a friend of mine, a close friend of mine, that put himself in the hospital in a corporate job, and he was in his 20s.
Wow.
And I won't mention his name or any of that information, but I built a relationship and some business partnership opportunities, and I've personally tried to be very point blank in just trying to unofficially coach him in ways and really focus on the you. He wants to talk business. I'm talking about him. Because as I mentioned before, he already has a track record where God gave him a wake-up call, honestly, at a young age. I know the stress doesn't get lighter when you go into business for yourself. It actually increases.
Yep.
And, from that perspective, I see this young man, early 30s. I don't want to see him. I want to see the success I know he can deliver in the right ways while taking care of himself.
Yeah.
Because I think he has a lot to give. And I just want to make sure I hope I can somehow impart some wisdom or some encouragement to make sure he tries to make healthier choices. And I don't even know what healthier choices mean. I just don't. But all I know is what's happened in the past for him.
Well, I love that. That's kind of like in a golfer's term, you teed it up for me for my next share with our viewers. So thanks for teeing it up, Todd. So Here we go. All right. Everybody knows, look, I had a stroke because I worked 15 hours a day. I had an out of balance lifestyle. And people that come to, I don't call it, but I heard it, mortality motivation. When you look at death in the mirror and you survive, you come out of that mirror different than you did before, because I'm playing with house money, meaning I don't have the fears I used to have, and I don't have the mindset I used to have, because I have a better balanced approach. And I wanted to share with our viewers because my partner, Jeff, sent me this book. And I was talking to Todd briefly about it before. I've read thousands of books, didn't complete all of them, but I did read thousands. This one probably had more of an impact on me because I've always outsourced. Even when I had corporate jobs, I'd hire housewives to do basic stuff because being dyslexic, writing was not my thing, doing emails and all that. So we're implementing something I want our viewers to kind of consider. Buy back your time with an executive assistant. So if you're running a business, you can get 10 hours, up to 10 hours of dedicated support in two areas. Todd said at the beginning, he manages his calendar different than most. And I guarantee you look at somebody's calendar, you look at their priorities. And if you're not scheduling family time on your calendar, you're missing opportunities because everything is a holistic approach. So our assistants in the Philippines will do 4 people per assistant. So our viewers can get 10 hours per week of dedicated time for email and calendar. Now, this is only offered to people that are in our community that have done a podcast. So if you're hearing this and you go, I want to do it, it's not for you. You have to be a guest on our podcast first. We are building a giving community because Todd is the poster child of giving. Go ask Jonathan Tremblay, who's usually on this podcast, how Todd gave to him. That's a story for another day. But when you have a mindset of giving and you surround yourself with givers, magical things happen. So if this is something that will honor you and you think that this could be helpful, you can call me 404-428-3006. And we have our team trained, and he'll take on 4 people per person. And for $10 an hour or $100 a week, you can buy back that time and then do higher leverage impact on your business. Because if you're in other people's priorities with your email, that's something that you have to understand that Oprah doesn't answer her email. Oprah doesn't manage her schedule. Elon Musk doesn't manage his calendar. He has somebody to do it. Russell Bronson, these people that are achieving these high level things, they think differently than us and they do things differently. But Todd and I share a common passion: pour into our small businesses, help our small businesses grow, get a mindset of growth and balance in how you do things. You don't want to be in your 20s in the hospital, because if you don't manage your stress level early, it's going to come back to bite you in the rear end a little bit later. So Todd, as I always promise, oh man, I'm at 33 minutes. Holy mackerel. So tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. My phone number is at the bottom of the screen. If you're a small business owner or a CEO of a growing business, you just want to learn more about me, what actually a fractional revenue officer does, or honestly just want to pick my brain on some business problems, my information's right here. Happy to chat with you. I'm not a high pressure salesperson. Sometimes I am, but no, just joking. But no, honestly, I'm here to help small business owners grow. I have 20 years corporate experience. I went through the battlefield. I sat in the Shark Tank. My father was an entrepreneur. Some businesses were successful, some weren't. And, I have a lot of God-given talent, and I've learned a lot throughout my career. And I just want to kind of impart that knowledge and expertise to small business owners that are ready to grow, hungry to grow, and most importantly, willing to grow. Because with growth, there's growing pains.
I love that. Now, as you know how we close, what's the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time with you on this podcast?
Wow, that's a big question. Where we kind of landed at the end, as business owners, we can very easily be consumed by our businesses. Step outside, go for a walk, take a break, give your significant other, your kids, a phone call. just there's more to life than just business.
I love that. Dang. Hey, I'm going to say in baseball terms, you just knocked it out of the park. And I'm a golfer, so
yeah,
I can't say you teed it up because you hit it right down the middle, 310 yards. That's for my golfers out there. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate you being with us. And I know Jonathan's going to want to listen to this because he's a learner too and believes in getting better each day. So thank you so much. You're going to, for our viewers, share this with people. We'll have the fractional executive branding on next week. I don't know what happened to it, but still 80-20 is kind of sort of that way. But you're going to hear from Todd and other people who are very good at what they do. And you're going to want, if you want to grow, you have to invite him into your conversation and talk with him about growth and how to get to be bigger and be more balanced in how you work your business. So thanks, Todd. We appreciate you being with us today, and have an awesome day, and share this with people you know that can benefit from this podcast. Thank you.
Thanks.